Thank you very much, Terry. Now please help me welcome Jean-Philippe Paiement, Chief Technology Officer of VRIFY, to the stage. VRIFY is transforming the way that mining companies speak with investors, and this is through powerful, interactive 3D presentations, as well as digital storytelling platforms. Over to you, Jean-Philippe.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. The goal of today's talk was just to sort of give an oversight of why we believe at VRIFY, and I strongly believe that AI is going to change sort of how we explore and how it's going to change the future of mineral exploration. And really, I think the main things to take away from this talk is that AI will just give you the ability to be more efficient, more transparent, and just look through a lot more than you've done in the past. So I think the first thing to keep in mind is there is a lot of opportunities still hiding in your data. So we've heard and we keep hearing that the next deposits are going to be found deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you have to go to the end of the world to find a new mineral discovery. However, what we think is there's a fallacy in that assumption, and that fallacy is the fact that if you say that, that means that you were 100% effective at finding things you were looking for in the data set you acquired in the past, and I just don't think that's actually true. So there's still a lot hidden in the historic data sets that we currently have, either on sort of government database, but also in companies' data repo. So one example of that is the pegmatite, lithium pegmatite case in Quebec. So all the way from early exploration days in the James Bay province in northern Quebec, all the way to around 2015, people were looking mostly for gold and sometimes copper and sometimes nickel and then gold again. And this is always dictated by what the market is looking for, what's the hottest commodity right now, and what people are actually willing to fund for exploration. One thing they didn't know while doing all of that exploration prior to 2015 is that at some point lithium would become a really important metal for battery production. So people and geologists were sitting on pegmatite dikes writing up their reports about gold exploration, mentioning there was a pegmatite here and there that were really, really important for the future of exploration, but they didn't even think of that, right? Comes 2015, the metal price of lithium goes up, people start looking for lithium, and there's a new commodity in the market. And what you're seeing here is basically all of these occurrences were mostly gold related, and comes 2015 when the market started asking for lithium, a lot of people starting to explore for lithium. So you see much more occurrences of lithium deposit being found in the James Bay. And that actually sort of prompt the fact that you need to be able to switch your focus pretty quickly when you're exploring, and you also need to test a lot of hypotheses. As I said, the market is asking for different things at different times, and right now what we're all talking about is the critical mineral push. So people are looking for different types of metal. So yeah, the copper, nickel plays are getting better. They're getting more traction. You're hearing things like base metal as well, or battery metals, or any of those metals become more and more important in exploration. However, we're greatly inefficient in our exploring, right? So if you look at the average times it takes to bring a project from sort of discovery to production, that's about 15 years or close to 16 years. On those 16 years, there's about 12 years spent for discovery to study, so meaning finding the deposit, drilling it, bringing it to a feasibility study. So that's a long time, and that's most of the time. And then you go into construction and production. And a lot of that time up front is spent on how to find it and finding deposits. And I believe that just due to the inefficiency in our processes, and I think if we're going to introduce AI into the exploration toolkit, it's just going to make things a lot more efficient and a lot faster. So what we're proposing on doing is allowing the user to be able to integrate data from different systems. So meaning that you're able to merge all of your different data sources together, a thing that's not actually possible if you're doing manually or the traditional way of exploration. By using AI and machine learning, then you're able to process through all of that data and maybe see correlation that you might have missed in the past. So meaning you might have explored using the wrong vectors, or you might sort of missed some underlying correlation. And then through the immersive visual communication, you're able to go and fund those targets. You're able to take the findings from the AI, from the prospectivity map you created, and you're able to market those more efficiently as well to be able to sell and possibly fund your project for the next drill hole phase. So what we're actually trying to speed up is the exploration wheel, and I don't know if the crowd here is educated on the geology side, but basically this is how normally exploration cycle works in the industry. And again, what we're doing is we'll go and collect some data. So this is going in the field, either drilling, doing some surveys, doing some mag, soil sampling, whatever you're doing. Then you process the data, you post an exploration hypothesis. So maybe I'm looking for gold in that area, and that data is going to help me. Then you construct a model, and then you generate targets, and then you go back to data collection, which is essentially drilling targets, and this is what's going to tell you if you're successful or not. Before you do that, you have to come up your model, right? You have to communicate your model, and you have to have a model and talk about it to the market. And most of the time, what we're seeing is something like that. So you go out, you're on a road show, you're at the one-to-one meetings today, and you're presenting geological maps with a lot of drawings, a lot of information, but obviously, if you're not a geologist or even a geophysicist, sometimes it's hard to understand what's on these maps, right? So here, why am I supposed to drill that drill hole here? Why is it important that I drill that drill hole? And why is it important that you guys give me $5 million to drill this hole? It's really hard to comprehend if you don't have the geological knowledge behind it. Second thing is, as somebody who's trying to market your property, you're also relying heavily on sort of the quality of your team. So basically what you're selling is not the quality of your data, it's not the quality of your model, you're selling the quality of the geologists who came up with that target. It might be a good thing, but it's also really hard to quantify. So what we're proposing on doing is going from something like that, which is hard to understand, to something much easier to understand, and that is data-driven. So with AI, what you're able to do is generate prediction to where you're most likely to find a deposit. So that creates a heat map. Everyone can understand that here you need to go and explore these bright spots. These bright spots are actually in 3D, and they come with labels that explain how the data-driven approach sees the data and sees the prospectivity. So these go from sort of qualitative model where you're trying to sell how good of a geologist you have on your team to here's what my data is saying, here's what are the probability associated with my model, here's how accurate my model is, and this is why I believe we should go and explore that area. So it's much easier, much more transparent into how you're targeting and how you're sort of planning on making those discoveries. Overall, at VRIFY, we are the only actual platform that allows the users to do that. So we have an actual platform. It's cloud-based. You can log in and generate those predictions yourself. So people are able to experiment, and that's super important. As a geologist, what you do is you sit down, you come up with an hypothesis, you test it, and then you iterate on that hypothesis. Using a platform that uses AI allows you to really, really quickly generate those hypotheses and test them out really quickly. By quickly, I mean about 30 minutes. So typically an exploration cycle, and again, if you're doing exploration workshop with your companies, or if you hear your company's doing they'll say they do exploration workshop, it takes between weeks and months. Here you can iterate in a matter of 30 minutes. It runs off an iPad, so you could be sitting in your couch at home watching TV and still exploring, right? So you're always testing out different things with the platform. AI allows you to gather more data, train on more data, and keep your model evolving, right? So just like ChatGPT is coming up with a new version every so-and-so, every few months, it's the same. As you gather more data, as the platform ingests more data, the model's getting retrained, and then you basically increase the ability of the platform to make prediction, increase the reliability of your predictions as well. So in terms of hypothesis testing, this is what you could do. So this example here is from the BTB belt. What we're doing here is just testing different scenarios. So I have all of my data has been compiled. It's available into the platform. What you could do with AI is test out different things. So in my case here, I'm testing a prediction model. So basically, where should I be exploring? Where's the most likely area to contain a gold deposit if I use only the geophysics data and some fault model, so basically geological interpretation. So this is my hypothesis, I've tested it, this is my result. What I can do then is move on to the next one. The next one is the same, so I use geophysics, which has a broad coverage, combined with geochemistry, so soil geochemistry. Here, this is my prediction, this is what I get out of it. And then I can run it again with the full element geochem and some geophysics and maybe some interpretation, and this is what I get as a result. All of these results, they have an accuracy. No geologist in life will tell you that whenever they come up with an exploration target, they have an accuracy of 85%, right? You'll never see that. You'll never hear a geologist talk about how uncertain their target are either, because they're always sure that they found the next big thing. However, again, it makes it hard to communicate to the market because you come up with people that want to know what is the risk of their investment. They want to know how likely it is to succeed, but you don't have the metrics to do it. By using AI and data-driven approaches, you can actually now start communicating these things to your market. So if we take a real-life example, and this is basically how we're integrating everything into one thing. So you have a property. This is your property boundary. You're seeing it here. I get to present it in 3D as well. The first thing you do is compile all the data that exists over top that area. So this is all of public data that's been compiled here. And just there, if you find any geo that tell you that they'll be able to find a correlation into all of these layers at the same time, using all of the data, they'll be lying to you. Because no human brain can work past about 3 dimensions of data, whereas a computer can go up to thousands of dimensions at the same time. So this is the original data set. That property also had other data sets that had partial cover. So again, through AI, you can generate broader coverage for these data sets. You can use them now. They're also part of what we call the data stack. And the data stack is really what it is. It's stacking all of the data on top of each other to allow for better decision making. From there, you can also augment your data. So there's a lot of different techniques that are available using either predictive model or automated fashion interpretation that allows you to just increase the coverage, increase the amount of information you're extracting from the data. So not only you're using all of the data, but you're also extracting even more information out of that data. So you're really milking what exists over top of your property. So that has two things. Once you're really sure you're getting all of the value of what the data you've acquired, the money you've spent on acquiring all of that data now is really put into value. The other thing is you don't need to go and acquire more. You have it here. You're milking everything out of it. So it just makes it a little bit better in terms of footprint, exploration impacts on your project. All of that gets distilled. You train your model. You make prediction. And everything gets translated into a simple sort of product to understand. And this is what it is right now. It's a prospectivity score that is going to tell you where you're most likely to find a mineral system. So here you're seeing where the model gave away their targets. So you can see that you have a big bright spot here. That's probably where you're already exploring. What becomes interesting are areas like this one. So this area doesn't have any drilling, any information surface, but it has a high likelihood of being mineralized. Same as this area here. Again, no drilling, but it has the same signature as this area that's been already explored. So basically you think that there might be other mineral system existing on your property without even setting foot on the ground, right? So now you've narrowed down your search field. You know where you should spend some time exploring in either your next field season or your next drilling campaign. More than that, we can take these surface predictions. So this is just a prediction on a map, and we can push them in 3D also. So from the drill hole, we can extrapolate how deep that target would be. And again, here, that's just saying to how much time is going to be spent exploring that target. So this is the existing one, right? One thing I see is there's potentially an extension, so I can communicate that to my investors because the prospectivity score keeps going farther away from my drill holes. But also, it's going to tell me how much effort I should put into exploring that. So if my target is way deep, if it's 500 meters below the surface or 1,000 meters below the surface, as opposed to another target on my property that's much closer to surface, then I can sort of decide where I want to spend my energy and my time and my money in terms of exploration efforts. And it's easy to, again, it's super easy to understand. It's super easy to communicate across where you should be going for your next exploration campaign. Lastly, again, to stress the fact that we think there's still a lot in your existing data. When everyone's saying, and I think if you were in a panel this morning, you heard me say that I'm 100, or not 100%, but I'm pretty strongly against the fact that people are saying that they need to go deeper and farther away from known discoveries to find other deposits. There's still things lying in your data that you might have missed. And that's not either by not being a good geo or not being a good explorer. It's just because at some point it's impossible to understand this signal across 64 different layers of information as a human. So there are still things that you are missing in your data that might sort of bring you to better discoveries. And the other thing is, a lot of people will tell you they have a platform for mineral discovery. No one's actually has a platform besides VRIFY, I think. So this is a web-hosted cloud computing service. So you log in, you have access to the platform, you can generate your models, you can iterate as much as you want. And really the goal is to allow people to play with their data, have a sandbox where they can test hypotheses, be quick, and change their mindset really quickly. So here, this is the model you're seeing here again, is the gold model for the BTB belt. But if tomorrow lithium becomes a thing and I have some training points for lithium, I could just switch, create a new experiment, use lithium as training points, use the same inputs, generate a predictive model, and now I've switched my exploration focus for that area really, really quickly. That took about 30 minutes to run. So it's super quick to iterate on again. And that's the key, and that's the real advantage of using AI and data-driven approaches in the mineral exploration, is you could change your focus really quickly, or you could test different hypotheses as you explore. That's about it for my presentation, yeah.